What is going on, everybody? And welcome to episode 12 of Ball Boys
and Track Masters.
How was your weekend, Trevor?
Another Yuengling. Pretty good. I pulled the trigger on some parts, so I try not to think about the amount of money spent there. Got some new gear. I got some sweet Tech 7 Dry Stars.
Nice.
Hopefully those last me a good couple years like the last pair did. So everybody likes shiny new stuff.
Until you look at the bank account, then that's one thing kind of.
Yeah. We don't concern ourselves with abstract concepts like that.
Can't take it with you, right?
You just buy. Don't worry about it. Did you do anything over the weekend?
Buddy, I'll be honest with you, it was one of the laziest weekends I've ever had in a long time. I pretty much sat on the couch for 2 days and didn't do anything.
You deserve it. I mean it. You deserve it.
Oh, you're too good to me.
I am. You're right.
All right, everybody. Well, we have a couple very special guests on the program tonight for episode 12. These two have pretty much done it all as far as a motorcycle is considered. ISDs, racing enduros, dual sport events, been all over the country. And it's definitely two people that we want to talk to. They're constantly in our comments section on every single video we do with tons of insight and cool stories and situations. So we definitely wanted to bring them on today. And without further ado, please welcome Rob and Alyssa.
Howdy. How you guys doing?
All right. Good to have you guys.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Exactly. It's good to be in West Virginia.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I wanted to talk about. So first off, I got to tell the story about like the first time we all met, which was pretty interesting. So it was the first year of the 304 Detour, and do you still write for Trail Rider?
I do. I got a couple of 2 stories in with them now.
Cool.
From the local from the New Jersey Enduros or East Coast Enduro Association.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember you sent me a message on Messenger on Facebook asking about our ride and wanting to come and do an article on it, and I was like, heck yeah, get some magazine exposure. Come on down, you guys. And we met up and it was our first ride, so we definitely had some teething problems and things to work on a little bit. But I remember it was the first gas stop, and I come over, I was talking to you guys, and the first question you asked me was how long it took for us to get all the permits together to put on this ride.
Yeah.
And I'm looking like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like you said, like, if you guys did this in New Jersey, it would have took years and years to get all the towns and stuff on board to do something like this. And I'm like, yeah, we don't have anything like that to deal with.
We don't know how fortunate we are, really.
We have to get parade permits.
You have to go through you're basically there. For one township, you pretty much have to go through in New Jersey 5 different agencies and get everybody's okay. And they even have like agencies within agencies, like Department of Environmental Protection, and then Land Management Review, and then you have to go through the Fire Service, and then you have to go through the Pinelands Commission. So I just named all 4 right there, and that's not even including the township and stuff and the counties. So like the amount of ludicrous ridiculousness is just that you literally have to be a off-road rider there, and even a dual sport rider to a degree. But even we have to fight, because they've almost actually kicked in New Jersey. They almost kicked street legal factory DRZ 400s, everything off of the same public dirt road you can take your Jeep down in New Jersey.
That's crazy.
So you pretty much have to be like a lobbyist and a dirt bike rider at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we don't have anything to deal with like that down here.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You see why I'm down here.
For sure. Well, guys, we'll just kind of start from the top and introduce your guys' self and what you do for a living and where you guys were born and raised at.
No, well, go ahead, hon.
All right. I'm Rob.
You're
born and raised I was born in Philadelphia, but raised in New Jersey, southern part of New Jersey, Medford. And I'm a forklift mechanic. Forklift road mechanic.
Ah.
So
I do that at work almost every night. Somebody's breaking something in the plane I got to fix on a fork truck.
Oh, yeah.
wow.
I get to drive the almost to Luray every day, which is 2 hours,
Yeah.
and work on their stuff over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Pays the
me.
bills though, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. No, I'm born in the very bottom of South Jersey, about like 10, 15 minutes from Delaware Bay, a little town called Millville, where you got the whole Mike Lafferty. What was he?
Eight-time
national enduro champions from my hometown. Like we have like a hardcore enduro community down. Actually, all of South Jersey does. It's really well rooted down there. But I'm originally from Millville. We're always the underdogs down there because we're like the poorest county in state, but we're good on dirt bikes.
Yeah, there's something in the water down there.
Yeah, but I wound up when I met Rob, I moved up that way. But outside of that, I've done a little bit of everything. I've drove over the road tractor trailers for a little while. I worked in the motorcycle industry the most. Right now I'm over at Romney Cycles, doing inventory control. I've worked in the service department, parts department, and sales department. I've done every department in the shop. I've wrenched on people's bikes. The shop I used to work at back in Jersey, Mount Holly, was a real dirt-oriented shop. So I did a lot of little specialty things over there and stuff like that. But outside of that, always around that, and in the trailer industry, that's a whole other animal altogether. So, but now I'm here back doing motorcycle stuff again, which is good.
Cool. Yeah, Romney Cycle Works is pretty cool over there. I know they got like a camping ride or something coming up soon, don't they?
In May, right?
Yeah, I think it's the first weekend of May.
Yeah.
Are we off?
No, I don't think so. We have class.
We also teach rider classes and back in Jersey, and it's every weekend that there's something going on.
Something cool.
We have a class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's with Pine Barrens Adventure Camp. We do teach a lot at ADV and dual sport folks. A lot of newer riders. They do 101 classes and 102 about riding, because the one thing with a lot of adventure bikes, dual sport bikes, is they're always a compromise. Meaning, the tires are compromised and stuff like that. Anything that's more dirt worthy is less road worthy, and vice versa. And a lot of people show up BMWs and Triumphs and stuff like that, and they think they bought a dirt bike, and first time they hit the dirt, they crash. So then they wind up giving us a holler to help them figure out how to get through the sand, because anything soft with those bikes is just not good. Sand or mud's usually their Achilles heel.
Yeah.
I love the guys
that
get into that first go around and then get scared and sell them, because then you cross some true deals out there. That's how I ended up with my Kawasaki some years back.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like you see them, like the bike's like almost brand new. It's got like a little scuff on the end of the bar. You're like, I know what happened.
Yeah, mine when I got it had a broke throttle tube and a dented exhaust. I know exactly what went down there.
It is. Everybody gets encouraged when they watch those. You watch like the closed course, professional rider on a closed course, and the commercials and stuff, and the guys doing cool slides and stuff, and then they get the bike and like they fall over in the driveway.
Paul Taras and some of those guys that have huge trials backgrounds, whipping like Tenere 700s, Africa Twins, and it's like
who's the guy with
thinking if you bought this basketball player's shoes, you jump higher and dunk. It's kind of the same deal. You think, well, you can do it on a T7. Why can't I? But
never realized the fact the guy's been riding trials since he's probably like knee high to a grasshopper. It's like. Yeah, like mere mortals don't possess like even a fifth of the skill that Batman has.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, how did you get your start into motorcycles? What triggered it for you guys when you were young?
Well, it's my brother. My brother started riding probably in 1970. He had like a Suzuki TS50, I think they call it a Gaucho, and then he had a 71 or 2 TS185.
Mm-hmm. I have those too.
We have one right now. And he used to take me for rides around on it, tow me behind on a sled in the snow. And then probably around 78 or 9, my cousin had a Z50. And that's when I started to learn how to ride on that. But I never had my own bike until probably 80 or 81. It was an old 74 XL 175 that almost never ran. And then in 84, I got a new KDX 200, and
pretty much the deal from there.
Started from there. Before that, I rode my friends' bikes all the time. The DS 185, which was like the dirt version of a TS.
Yeah.
and
got chased by the cops.
Got chased by the cops once. He got caught too. My friend got away. He was riding on the back. It was his bike. I was driving it. And we snuck the bike out late at night. Went out riding in the gravel pits and stuff. And we're coming back on the side roads. And there's a Medford cop coming at us. I turned down into a development. And he's behind us.
Doing a Terminator 2, huh?
Yeah, kind of like that wrecker.
Yeah.
There's one decreasing radius turn, and in the middle of that turn, if there was another road that shot off of it, if I made it, that turn I could have gotten home, but I was going too fast, and the turn started getting too tight. Went into somebody's backyard, circled around, and hit a big cement flower planter. The bike went straight up in the air. We flew either way, and I made it to the edge of the yard, hid behind a leaf pile, and my buddy just kept running right through the woods, getting clothesline, and it was like 2:00 in the morning, and he made it all the way. We were camping in the woods behind, his parents' house, and he made it all the way home. Never got caught. I got caught. So. Then I ended up doing community service and.
It's a crime to ride your dirt bike. Yeah. You know that?
I remember my dad picking me up. He wasn't very happy.
Yeah, I know all about that. The little town that I grew up in Barrackville, we had a Barney Fife cop that absolutely hated anything with the motor. And right up above the town was an old strip job, was the Barrackville slate dumps. And, typically any old slate job, there's some good riding on it. And that's where everybody wanted to ride in this area. And I lived about 3 miles from there, so I had to ride the hard road to get over that way and go up through the old coal camp houses to get up to the slate dump. And every time we got done riding, we would come back down through that neighborhood, and there he was waiting for us every single time. Luckily, I had a real good buddy of mine in school that lived like a mile and a half down the road. You went across this tight turn and went across this bridge across Buffalo Creek. He lived right on the other side of the creek. And every time he would hear the siren and hear a two-stroke motorcycle, he would run down to his garage and just crack the door open a little bit. I'd come flying by, go in the garage, shut the door, turn the lights off.
That's great.
Right. Yeah.
The Bat Cave.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I got started. So my grandfather back during right after World War II. Long story short, he had bikes. He built a bike when he came to the States. He built out of like old Harley frame, and I forgot what engine he used. He made like a moped for my uncle and stuff. He liked motorcycles, big into cars, kind of got me into all that kind of stuff. But my dad initially was very much against it. So I saved up my babysitting money when I was 15. I didn't tell because I wanted one for years. Everybody in the neighborhood had quads and bikes and stuff, go-karts, you name it, and I had my feet. I did learn to ride. My grandfather, that same grandfather, gave me my brother a moped when we were when I was 8 years old. And once I figured out how to start it, I ride it all over the place. But the problem is mopeds make very bad dirt bikes, and it didn't last long. Really didn't last long. It died. So I saved up babysitting money for a bunch of years. Turned 15, went off and with my older brother. I didn't tell my parents. I figured it was easier to ask for forgiveness than it was to that permission, because I knew the answer was going to be no, not for my mom, but for my pops originally. So we just went off and showed up with a I had a 74 F11 250, and I showed up with a TS 100, and that ran the 79 TS 100, and that pretty much got me into it. I saved up because I was still a teenager. I couldn't have a job on the books really yet. I bought a couple bikes that way and stuff up until. Rob had like an XR 250 after the TS and stuff, and that was a rattle trap and a half. But but that's pretty much the bike I got me into the racing. It's funny. I was just telling the story not that long ago, and it just blows my mind because you think about it now. People are so bugged about going anywhere about their phones, stuff like that. I was 18 years old. I just had my driver's license. Never left the state of New Jersey by myself. I crossed the Delaware Memorial Bridge by myself with just a paper map. I didn't. We're talking like. 98, no cell phone, nothing. I got lost, had to ask two strangers at a gas station in Newark, Delaware, which ain't exactly like a really nice neighborhood.
Yeah. She was heading to a hair scramble.
I was heading to a race for my first race, so you think about that, who the hell lets an 18-year-old girl go by themselves in a car, no stuff, nothing, just just go get lost for the day, Yeah. But that's I think back down, damn, Oh, it was half crazy. I'm like, I was driven. I'm like, I want to go race. I need to go race. I don't know why I had to go race.
Yep.
And nobody would go with me. So I'm like, well, I'm going by myself then.
That's awesome, guys. So kind of continuing that, I mean, you know, you can see from afar that you two mesh really well. Your personalities go together well. I mean, you really remind me of my parents, honestly, which is the quintessential moto couple, and especially with you know, my mom. She's the one that's cussing all the time and everything.
Yeah,
so
she's spunky.
I get that dynamic very well. So tell everybody how you guys met. I mean, that's got to be a good story.
Oh, well, you want me to tell it?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so a mutual couple from my enduro club. Rob's in a different enduro club than me. A mutual couple. When I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, decided to introduce us, take us on a blind date. Now we kind of sort of knew of each other, but we never talked. I just thought he was like some fast guy who just didn't talk to nobody. You know, like some fast guys are like real. I don't want to say dicks, but like but like they're standoffish. You know, I thought he was like that. He's just really shy. So I took him up on the blind, on the kind of like semi-blind, double date, and we started comparing notes. And the crazy thing that is my grandfather, the motorcycle grandfather from Germany, was originally born in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, and Rob's dad was also born in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, within like 2 years of each other.
Yeah.
And when they immigrated to the U.S., they came over on the same ships within like, I don't know.
Yeah, the same Liberty ships after World War II.
Yep, in 1952, within like a couple months of each other. Yep.
6 months, probably.
So it's kind of, and then
they settled in the same area, southern part of New Jersey.
Yeah.
So.
And they have kind of like a lot of the, so when we started comparing, Rob thought I was lying to him at first.
Yeah, I said, get out of here, right?
Yeah, but like, it's just kind of weird because our families have, on my German side, and his family, they have similar traditions, you know? So it was like, between that and the motorcycling, I always felt like his relatives and my relatives came a long way for us to meet.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, obviously you see your guys' Instagram or Facebook stuff. You're always constantly out doing something every weekend, it seems like. So, I mean, you guys' schedule's got to be absolutely insane. So maybe take somebody through your guys' life as a racing and riding couple. Like, what's your guys' typical weekends look like, and just what all are you guys into?
Oh, geez. Well, basically, it's if we're going, so we do a lot of Pine Barrens Venture Camp classes. You usually have like 4 or 5 in the spring and 4 or 5 or so in the fall.
Yeah, you kind of take a break during the hot months of the summer.
Most of the time. Once in a while, there's one in Pennsylvania in the middle, in early July, late June. But so basically, it's like getting done work. Like you try to get the bikes done, and this has like pretty much been the case almost how this works since like we started racing together way back in the day. Where basically all week long, it's like basically Monday or Tuesday, you're coming home and washing the bikes. You're prepping them every night after work. Hopefully you have the parts. I have bins and bins and bins. I learned over the years what kind of.
When we first met, she said she wanted to race the whole Hare Scramble series and Enduro series. I said, you better pick one because I'm only racing the Enduro series. So.
Well, the reality of it is, that it's so much prep work. That's the thing. Most people don't realize if you're racing, like unless you buy a new bike every 6 months, you gotta pay the piper at some point. Like you ride, you get brand new bike is the only time you get a reprieve. After that, you're constantly working on them. It's not that that they're trash or anything. It's just they you wear things and dirt bikes are just consumables. They just consume so much crap. So I've learned over the years to keep like a stash of the normal consumed parts. Like I have tons of seals and bearings, all kinds of stuff. I try to plan, for worst case scenario, because what happens is otherwise, and this was real prevalent during COVID, because half the time I was the only one that had parts around anywhere because I stashed stuff and, the dealers couldn't get the crap, but I had it. But you're basically scrambling to get the bike together, and then, Friday night, hopefully the parts, any parts you had to order came in, Thursday, so you can get them together, get the bikes together. And, we're driving, 5 hours this way or, 6 hours that way. Yep. And then, trying to get there, the late Friday night, try to sleep a little bit in Saturday morning, and then, but if we're doing classes, we're pretty much up at like 6 a.m, Saturday with 4 hours of sleep, from driving in Friday night back to Jersey for them.
I know all about you talking about parts bins, just keeping them on stock. At one point, me, my mom, my dad, and my sister were all racing YZ250 two-strokes from 05.
Makes it easy.
So I'm not kidding you. There's a local sales paper around here called the Bulletin Board, and they post all their for sale stuff on there just before Craigslist and all that stuff. Facebook Marketplace. My dad would scour that thing every Thursday when it came out, and if there was a YZ250 for like under $1,500, we were going to buy it just to have some extra parts laying around.
Yep.
You had to.
You don't realize people they think it's and then on top of that, the amount of time you got put into. I always say it's like 1 hour of riding means 2 in the garage for me. That's it. 1 hour of riding is 2 in the garage. I may not have to do it this weekend. I'm gonna have to pay it forward at some point. Like this past weekend, we're supposed to supposed to go back to the East Coast North Association for the 4th round of the Enduro series, I think. Fourth round. And I wound up having all prepaid to be in it and everything, but we had to cancel out because at the last I went to replace my chain sprockets. I should have done before the last race. I had the parts sitting there. I mean, it didn't look that bad, but I'm like, I got to replace them. Rob replaced his. I went to go replace mine, and the camshaft seal's leaking, and of course the damn collar's stuck on the damn output shaft and
seized onto the output shaft.
So a couple hours later, and this is already eating into Saturday at this point. The race is on Sunday morning. I'm like. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, we can't get out by a certain time. I don't want to go. I just I've done too many.
That race is 10 minutes from our old house too.
Yeah. Yep.
So my brother's renting our old house, so we were going to stay there and hop on over to the race and come back and head home. But that kind of.
But the thing is,
got messed up there.
Yeah, that whole we used to do a lot of all nighters and then race on 3 hours of sleep. And I'm gonna tell you, you race on 3 hours of sleep and then you gotta drive 5-6 hours back from somewhere. That's brutal.
Not fun. Been there multiple times. That is not fun.
It's not fun.
We did the Northeast 24-hour race in New York.
Yeah.
A bunch. The first year. No, first year we stayed over. The one time we drove home right after the race, and that was
dumb.
That was
dumb.
That's definitely on my bucket list. I want to try to talk a bunch of these FDSR guys into doing a 24-hour race with me. I think that'd be so much fun.
It is. It get about 2-3 o'clock in the morning. It starts to.
That's when the game changes. The whole race changes overnight because people start dying. Literally, that's when it really hits you. The exhaustion from doing it. You're like, okay.
Me and Trevor are real big fans of a guy on YouTube, Gabe from Torture Test Magazine. And, he's done multiple of the 24-hour Glen Helen challenges. They're all on YouTube.
Okay.
I'm like, is that the guy with the DR200?
Yeah, the DR200.
Okay,
yeah.
He's doing it on DR200?
Yeah, you buy these junkers and race it.
Oh, yeah. CRF 230s.
He had an Exo 600 for a while.
He's a fast rider, too.
He actually teamed up with Rocky Mountain and their guys and went and bought some old Yamaha WR250s and did it together on 2 of those bikes. I think it was the last one he did. It was really, really awesome videos.
Yeah.
If you're doing it that way, you probably have to pretty much buy new junkers every event because especially DR200s and stuff like that, you can – I know I pretty much almost killed a KLX 250S. So, if it doesn't have it's easier to make a fast bike slow than it is to make a slow bike fast.
Yeah, I have a KLX 250S, so I could definitely see that.
Oh no, I think it's
you used to have them.
Yeah, I like those bikes a lot, but the 300 version, there's another one. Your brother has that 300 was a 340 kit and the cams, and that runs really good.
My brother has an X Team Green Support Riders KLX. I think it's a 340.
Yes, I was going to build out a KLX 351 with some cams and some other junk.
Oh, it's a night and day difference.
The more I thought about it, the more I thought I'm just going to buy a KTM 350 and, we'll be 60 pounds lighter on top of that. So that's
I think it was back in the late 90s. I remember when they originally made a 250 into a 300 to carbureted R models, back in like 97, I think it was they went, or 96 they did the 300R.
Somewhere around that time.
And I was like, wow, like totally blown away. It was like 236 pound or so dry away, kick only, had 40, was it the 46 millimeter inverted forks on it, even had no adjustment, just compression adjustment on them.
Still more than the new 300 Rally has.
Oh yeah. Oh well.
That Rally is.
I was
I've ridden a couple of them in the class.
That's a fun rabbit hole to go down.
No, it's not. I know there's people that love that bike. That is.
They kind of look cool, but
it's the most disappointing motorcycle. One of the most disappointing motorcycles I ever ridden.
We call it the Africa thing.
And I like stuff like TS185s and like Van 200s. Okay, so
I got a GW 200 too, and I'd probably take that over a Rally just for the fun factor. It's like a big monkey bike, but yeah, the whole thing, Honda kind of dropped the ball. These guys will pay whatever plus dealer markup, and then turn around and buy the Olin suspension and the fuel tuner, and you've now sunk 10 grand into it, and you're still not to where you would have been if you just spent 10 grand on a bike to start with.
Yeah, it's easier.
They make an Olin shock for that.
Yeah, it's front and rear, surprisingly.
Yeah, Rally Rate.
That's a shame.
Rally Rate has an entire kit out that replaces the front forks and the shock. But
it's still a CRF 250, man. Yeah. Someone's going to send me hate mail for that, but yes.
Yeah, it's still 315 pounds and still makes like 24 horsepower. Yeah. There's nothing you can do to get away from that.
Well, speaking of bikes,
okay, but
speaking of bikes, I think we would be remiss. You guys seem to have a little bit of brand loyalty towards Kawasaki. So we got on that a little bit because I don't know if you know this or not, but look at that. Check that one out.
Oh, look at you!
Put that away, James. My girl watches this podcast.
Oh, there it is. Dirt bikes.
Yeah. So, funny story on that one. A long time ago, I was racing a KX250 two-stroke in the Open B class, and was on kind of a satellite, not really factory Kawasaki team, but we got some support.
Yeah,
we went to the Vero Beach, Florida GNCC first round.
Well, that's cool.
I'm in downtown Daytona with all the guys on the race team. Get absolutely hammered drunk and basically pass out. I wake up the next morning in the back of the camper, and I'm like, God, my arm is killing me. And I pull my sleeve up. I got a big bandage on it. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh no!
Pull that off. I'm like, oh God. I was 17 at the time. So. Parents really enjoyed that.
I mean, better a Kawasaki K than I don't know, the generic Tiger, or something like that on there. So yeah, Tweety Bird. Oh God, the Tweety Bird.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't get like the barbed wire wrap around it.
Oh yeah,
the barbed wire. Yeah, a battleship.
A battleship.
I started to get this thing covered up, but then I ended up buying that Kawasaki Versus 650 that I've been beating off. Yeah, I'm just going to keep it.
Just keep it. It's a good luck charm now.
True. Yeah, you guys, you both, I know you got a KX450 XC, right?
We both have
She has the XC. I have a KX450, the motocross version.
Yeah.
The reason why is because when I bought them when I worked over at Mount Holly Kawasaki, they have Kawasaki, if you work for a dealership, takes care of the dealership employees. So that's a small part of it, but the other part of why I always wind up on Kawasaki's because they just freaking fit me. I don't know what the heck it is about Kawasaki's. I get on them and they work. Suzuki's always seemed to be a good fit for me too. No insulting Yamahas. I know people love them to death, and the YZ250's got a fantastic motor, but they feel long and they don't turn the way I want them to turn. They're just like, and if I try to make them turn the way I want them to turn, they're stink bugs, meaning they're nose down and butt high. So. And that's not real good when you go through some stuff, especially like rocks and crap like that. But the Cowies always fit. But anyway, back to the thing. Like, with Cowies employee deal, I can only have one model, so I couldn't buy two XCs. Our dealership only got in one XC, so I was like, well, we'll get the one and get the other. And really, the XC and the standard model are they're the same
it's
thing.
The same bike. There's no difference.
18-inch wheel, a side stand, and maybe like some softer spring rates. Maybe the valving difference. But for what we do and what most people would do riding off-road, you're going to send that stuff out anyway and get it revalved and resprung and the whole 9 yards anyway. So, like that's null and void to me. And there's very few bikes I've ever left bone stock, and definitely not my race bikes.
Yeah.
A bunch of 03 and 04 KX250s.
Yeah, I have all my we have almost all our
our
original.
ISD bikes still.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just
An 07, which we hate.
I hate
But,
the 07 KX250. That's not a good package.
And
Mine-
one of
mine
the
that I had
04
was
250.
I think
Okay.
mine I had was an 03 KX250.
Uh-huh.
It
The
had
04 is the 04 is the unicorn. That is the unicorn. But I don't let people know that because I want them to sell them for cheap. But that bike is the unicorn. That has the best motor and chassis of all of them, and it's really like almost like a 1-year bike. It's an M2, meaning like it's built off of the 03 model, and it's the last year for the old engine. But that bike is like a real hodgepodge between the old ones and the new ones.
Yeah.
But it's the best of all of them.
I really like mine. I remember that bike had weird rims on it. They didn't have like
Round.
Yep.
Yeah.
like just a half moon weird deal.
Yep.
The DID round rims, and those are some tough ass rims.
Oh, they
like,
were. Yeah,
like we got like the front rims. Like I don't think I've ever had to tighten a spoke on them. We got like one or two with like a ding in it. Like, and when I say like, I knew when I dinged them because I bottomed hard on them, and damn thing still spins true. So I'm like, all right, I gonna bother with it.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. Like, when I was working on mine, it just seemed way thicker and way tougher than a regular rim. It was definitely good for cross country racing, like we were just. So what's your guys' dual sports? I know, Rob, you've got is it an RMX 450 that's street legal?
Yeah, it's in the midst of being converted to fully street legal.
Right.
But I had a DRZ 400S. I still have it, but the RMX was just becoming more and more fun to ride. And it's more power, better suspension.
EFI.
The EFI is what sold me.
EFI.
I was always afraid of it, and that was my first EFI bike, and it turned out pretty good. I bought a little, like a tuner for it, because it was real lean. It would stall and it was run a little ratty. So I put the tuner on it and really cleaned it up, made it run. The power was real broad on it.
Good bottom end, like old school 4-stroke air cooled bottom end.
XR 600 on steroids type power.
Very chuggy, very chuggy.
That tuner, was it like a piggyback tuner that interrupts the signal between the ECU and the injector?
Yeah, you plug it in. Go ahead.
2 different bikes and have had fantastic results. Dobeck EJKs is what I've used in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and huge fan. It's like the best bang for your buck for an EFI bike. And, it's surprisingly user-friendly versus spending $800 plus on a Vortex or something like that and having to map it all.
The thing is, a lot of these bikes, like if you buy a bike that's factory street legal, Endor has to meet an emissions standard on the EFI 4-stroke, they're always going to be ridiculously lean, and the ECU is pretty much fixed. And those piggyback tuners basically trick the ECU into thinking it's somewhere else rather than where it's at to allow you to add more fuel to it.
Yeah, the signal from the ECU and changing the pulse width for the injector a little bit. Fantastic idea, but yeah, you're dead on that. Buying factory street legal bikes, they're so choked up. They're running so. I know when I first had my Kawasaki 250, as soon as you got to slower speed technical stuff, the engine was immediately hot and the fan was immediately on every time. And then after messing around with the fuel tuner and stuff and getting it to where it wasn't on the ragged edge of, detonation, it's just a gigantic difference.
Huge. A lot of those engines benefit so much more from fuel. Like I would tell people, like even with stock exhaust systems, that if you put more fuel to it, it'll run better even with the stock exhaust systems. Like, I don't think I'm like, we used to get a lot of issues with, I worked at the prior dealership I worked at, we had KTMs, and that was a big thing, bone stock, where you'd have to play around with the parameters. But then as the years went on, you could only play around but so much from the factory because it was pretty much you're locked out anymore. It's for emissions reasons. It can't be tampered with,
Yeah.
So the guy I bought my KTM 350 off of bought it brand new, and we rode together, I think, for most of the miles that got put on that 350. But when he first bought it, it was borderline unusable. You're aware of the CRF 450L flameout problems. So this was kind of the same deal, and he ended up buying an aftermarket fuel controller for it from Dobeck, and still stock intake with the reeds, stock exhaust, and it's just a world of difference.
Oh yeah, no, you put fuel to them, it just makes them so much better. But that's a big thing. Like nobody wants, and I get it. You spend the money on the bike, and it would a lot of times bring it back to the dealer and complains like, well, you bought basically a dirt bike. Like this bike you can strip down and go race this thing. You basically bought like a dirt bike, and like a lot of times they would ride it like on the road, get them hot, and like this it does this and it stalls. I'm like, I mean, like they look. People want the light and they want the power. But the problem is, if you want something that's going to be 110% perfect at the box, you go buy a bone stock, like DRZ, something like that, and just don't leave it alone. It's not a race bike, DR650, just leave it alone, just ride it, But if you want something that's light and got lots of power, it's basically a dirt bike with a plate.
Yep. Yeah. That's what people really struggle with KTMs, especially, is not understanding what they are, which is a dirt bike with the bare minimum amount of equipment needed to be
make it street legal. Exactly.
That's just what it is. Of course, the engines are detuned a little bit. I don't know if they use like a different cam profile with a little bit lighter lift, or how deep it goes into it with the engine side of things. But yeah, I know of a lot of people on the forums and stuff that switch from like a DRZ 400 to like a KTM 500, and at first they're blown away with the power and the lightweight, and then they complain about the service intervals nonstop because they want to put 200 pavement miles on it every week, and then they're shocked when they have to change the oil constantly.
Yeah. Exactly. No, and just like they dirty up the air filters faster, the whole 9 yards. It's a whole plethora of stuff. It's like, well, you bought a tagged race bike, and race bikes consume themselves. If you're not throwing money at them, they're just going to eat themselves alive. And that's the thing. Like, I don't know how many times we invited people, like you're not like riding buddies over time. You figure out which ones work on their bikes and which ones don't. Because you get stuck working on their bikes on the side of a trail, and it's not from crashing. It's because they didn't check something at home before they went out with you.
Oh yeah. We've touched on that in a previous episode about the importance of maintenance. And yeah, I've ridden with guys in the past that I've spent some pretty hot summer days on the side of the trail wrenching on something when I really just wanted to be out riding.
Yes. No, yeah. I mean, sometimes it can end the whole day because you got to like tow them back or whatever, or go find help for them, or I know we've more than a few times we've had back before we moved down to West Virginia, we'd invite friends down this way. And it's like some folks like, again, sometimes, crashes happen and stuff breaks, and that's a whole different animal, like you can't always prevent everything that's going to bust when you
go. Some people bring bikes that don't even run.
Yeah.
Somebody shows up with a chain that's half frozen links and a sprocket that's shark toothed out and everything. It's like,
and then it leaves you in a dilemma. Like, I don't, man, it's like, I didn't come down here to work on bikes. I spent last weekend working on my bike for just because of this weekend.
That's what sticked to my crawl about it, is like after work throughout the weeks, and James is the same way, wrenching on stuff, trying to get it ready for the ride or whatever, and then you get out there and somebody that didn't do their maintenance and sucks up your trail time.
Yep. It's dirt bike riding time is precious. Yep. You only got so much of it in your lifetime. Very precious.
Finite things in existence.
I got news. I got news for all the guys coming down and doing the Tour de Coalfields ride with us. If you get out on the trail and your bike breaks down, I'm leaving you. I don't have time for this trip. Sorry about it.
Well, how is that ride? Is that
we've not been on it before?
Yeah, we've never done it. There's been a couple guys in our club that have done it. That's put together by a buddy of mine, Laney Hoosier from Adventure Horizons. He's got a bunch of different routes. It basically wraps around all the way from Summersville, then over towards Nettie, and then down to Bluefield, and then back up around Summit Betchel Reserve and back up to Summersville. And we're going to catch the loop right at Summersville. We got a cabin that we're renting down in the southern part of the state, right in the middle of Hatfield-McCoy Trail territory.
Oh, nice.
So the first day is going to be like 165 miles, and then the second day will be about 160 total if we can get it all in.
Stuff in the first day for the most part.
Yeah, it's a great mix of really challenging technical stuff we like to ride at the 304 with some decent slab sections to connect everything. So we're definitely looking forward to that route.
Yeah, check that out sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know how it goes. It should be good time. Well, obviously with as many many years you guys have been doing this and doing your events and going to different events. You've done some pretty cool stuff. I know you both got to do some ISDE racing.
I didn't. She did.
She did. Okay.
Yeah.
I've done a couple qualifiers,
Right.
but she went and here it is.
Oh, the Arai helmet. Yep.
Yeah,
The real deal there.
Nice.
Yep.
But
Yeah, no, I went in 2003. I actually wasn't. I actually almost didn't go because, at that point I'd only been racing maybe even 5 years, and I didn't feel like I was ready, honestly. But I got talked into it, and I went, and I'm glad I did. One of my good riding buddies that passed away back in 2003, Bob Eppinger, guy from Rob's Club. He told me, like, before he passed away that year, that he would, like, when I was telling him, when I was debating about going, so I'm like, I don't feel ready. He's like, I cut off my left nut to do that. I'm like, and I thought about it for a while. I'm like, yeah, if I don't go now, I'm probably never going to be able to go do it. And believe me, it was a lot of, like, scrimping and saving. I took out personal loans because that's the thing.
maxed out credit.
You go to the
Bought a second bike.
well, that's the thing. I had to have 2 bikes because the one bike was shipped out in August and didn't come back until, what was that, March of the following year?
Yep.
So
It's like one of those Bugs Bunny suitcases that have stickers all over. It's been all over the world.
oh, literally.
The story how it got out there, it was shit. The team container was in
Oregon.
So we had to crate up the bike in Jersey, send it to Oregon. From Oregon, it was going to go to Long Beach, California, and head out on a freighter. Well, I think they missed the freighter
By day.
and they shipped it to Miami, and then it left out of Miami.
Oh, geez.
It went to Brazil, did the race, packed it up, came back to Newark, New Jersey, which is 40 minutes away from our house.
Port of Elizabeth.
Port of Elizabeth.
Uh-huh.
They wouldn't let us get it out. It got shipped to Oregon, and then we shipped it back to her dealership in Mount Holly, New
Oh,
Jersey.
my gosh.
Yeah.
It was a
Very well traveled.
I was a little worried because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure we were going to see the bike again.
Yeah, I can understand.
Somebody ripped the crate open, was looking inside, then they shoved some.
It showed like a couch cushion in it. It
Yeah.
was ridiculous. I'm like, what in the hell was Customs in Brazil doing?
Bike came back all rusty and everything.
Oh, yeah, you can tell what side of the crate was facing the ocean. Even though we coated everything in WD-40, that side, I didn't put all the horror on that side of the bike.
Well, they did start off on the beach. And they went down the beach a little way, so there's salt water and what?
No, I got back
Definitely an
then.
experience.
Yeah, no, but it was extremely expensive back then to do it, and that's the thing. Like, you got to pay your own way to go, you know, and or have sponsors. And back at that time, there wasn't even a women's class, so we got stuck racing as a women's team.
Team Dual Sport was the name.
Yep.
I'm like,
what the hell is that? Yeah, exactly. So there was women's teams, but there were only club teams because there wasn't actually a women's class. Like, that just to this day kind of like blows my mind. It took them to what, 2006 or 7 to actually have a women's trophy cup. I'm like, really? Like, and the thing was, there were other women there. There was other women teams and stuff, but they didn't have a women's class. I thought that was really like kind of lame, personally, but
Yeah. Any kind of bucket list race like that, I'm the same way. I would definitely cut off the limb to go. I know one of our guys this year, Ryan Eccles. He's one of the trail bosses for GNCC. He's getting to go do the Red Bull Erzberg this year.
Erzberg Rodeo, that's cool.
Friend of ours did that too.
Yeah,
Mike Siggety.
Yep, that's cool.
I'll tell you what, Ryan, he's a hell of a racer, hell of a rider. He loves hard enduro stuff. He's done the Texas Red Bull Last Man Standing back in 07, I think it was, when they did that. He's done the Tough Like Roar, Bad Medicine.
I've done that.
Lisa did that twice.
Yep.
Yeah. So
That's a good one.
We're pulling
I just picked
everything. Well, guys, we'll kind of keep moving here a little bit. What? Let's see. Let's talk about your different dual sport events that you guys like to do throughout the year. What's some of your guys' top ones you like to do?
Hancock, number 1. Hancock Quarry Run up in Hancock, New York is by far, by the Bear Creek Sportsman, is by far the best dual sport. No insult, guys. I love you guys. But honestly, it is like the best dual sport. Like, pretty much there is a race. Part of the East Coast Enduro Association Enduro series. that day, like an hour from our house here. Okay. You know where I'm going to be on that weekend? Because it's the same weekend as Hancock. I'm going to be in Hancock, New York. That dual sport is just like the baddest ass hill climbs. Like you think you're getting to the top. Oh no, it switchbacks. It keeps going. Like it. And the thing is, like the mountains there, like the runs here are. I mean, there's some good long runs, and they're steeper sometimes, but like I don't know what it is, like how the hell them hills like go on forever like that up there. They just keep freaking going, and like big boulder, it's like some good rock sections and stuff, and loose crap. And
it's almost all single track.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like
that's you guys got to come and try
it is
that
like
sometime.
Fine wine. That event. So I got introduced to that event back when I did the qualifier for the ISD in 2003. It was the Bluestone 300 qualifier for the ISD, and they at the same time had
they ran the qualifier in conjunction with the
dual sport,
which is kind of weird because some of the dual sport riders are getting in the way of the racers.
Yeah, but that's besides the point. They only did that I think like once or twice like that. And they also And also it's the same location. Those trails and stuff is where they had the World Enduro Championship Series when they came to the U.S. for 06 and 07, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. And they had the round in Canada, and then a week later you had the round in New York at the same place in Hancock. So
we ended up working it the 1 year.
Yeah, so it's
pretty cool seeing all the
top Euro guys.
Our guys are kind of slow back then compared to those Euro guys.
Yeah, they were on a different level.
They ride a whole different way.
Their idea of enduro, and this is unpopular opinion because it's my opinion, but their idea of European enduro is like freaking like it's basically national terrain motocross. It's a GP. You know, the American version is somewhere closer to like not quite extreme enduro. You have like obstacles like that, but you have like trail in between the obstacles. Yeah. So I like the traditional format, but I am American, so.
Yeah, it was interesting there. I think it was like the beginning of last year when he had some of the Euro GP guys coming over and doing the GNCC races, like Steve Holcomb from Beta.
Uh-huh.
Some of there was a couple other guys. Was a KTM dude. Can't remember the guy from KTM. He's a big guy, named guy over there. And when they got up against the Americans here, Stu Baylor and Ben Kelly and that crop of guys, it didn't work out too well for them this last year.
Yeah.
But on the same token, it's funny because they come over here and race and don't do very well. And then a lot of times, our ISDE guys go over there and get their asses kicked. They just don't do very well at all. So.
The racing, our formats have changed a bit. They become more like the European races.
Yeah.
So our guys, their speed's getting faster and faster,
Yeah.
It's evident when we did the like in 21, we did like 5 rounds of the NEPG series, the National Enduro Series, and
it's nothing like
compared to the way the enduros I remembered, 120-mile ground mile, soul grinding,
like the Blackwater 100 kind of
nasty stuff. Enduros. Yeah. These are like a 50, 60-mile hair scramble. It's all nothing really showstoppers, or
nope. It's just and literally like
I felt like a fish out of water there.
It literally like fifth gear and then some, and it's like for like distances, like wow, this is way faster than I want to go for this damn long on a dirt bike where I can hit a stump and get flung into a tree.
Mm-hmm. Fifth gear.
Yeah, like that took too much time in fifth gear. I like that second and third gear stuff better.
Cool. Well, kind of going back a little bit.
Sorry, I get off topic.
No, you're fine. You guys are fine. We're going to crank the difficulty up a little bit this year on the hard loop for the 304 detour if you guys come back.
Ooh,
okay.
That means I should bring out my KX450 then.
We want guys to suffer a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna bend and break you a little bit more, especially the one section there at it was the new one that we did last year at Chip Schaefer's house. He's got a hill climb there called Not Your Mama's Hill, because if everybody can make it, then it'd be easy like your mom. We're going to add that one in this year. But
what's the date on that?
July 22nd and 23rd.
Okay.
The hard loop is on the 22nd and the easy loop is on the 23rd.
Got it.
No class that weekend, right? July.
There's no class that weekend. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But,
we'd love to have you guys out again.
Yep.
No, hell yeah. Yeah. No, but that's like pretty much for dual sports. Like, yeah, we talk about like your guys one, but we always looking for but like Hancock's always been like one of our favorites, and then that's really about it though. Honestly, it's like like Dirty Dabbers. People talk about Millhall, Dirty Dabbers.
Yeah, we've done that. And,
that's a good
Shenandoah
time.
500. I used to do that, but then the Shenandoah has gotten really, really easy in the last.
It has. It really has. I mean,
more like an adventure bike thing.
Yeah, other than the Rocky Run ATV trail, that's fun.
Yep.
It's not really hard, but that's like the hardest thing on the whole ride. I mean, it's all four.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing with dual sports in general is that it's and adventure bikes and the whole 9 yards is there's such a massive interpretation difference from one person to the next and the variation of it. It's tough. You can't please everyone with that stuff because we've seen over the years people coming up to Hancock because we've been doing Hancock now since 2003, and I think we only ever missed like 1 or 2 years at the most. I don't even remember that, but it's they've tried running a big bike loop and stuff at that event, and a lot of times guys would wind up in their trail, and when you wind up on their trail,
it's GS 1200s on a nasty rocky uphill.
It's like the Suez Canal.
It's like 2 tractor trailers blocking the uphill.
Yeah. Literally. That's the thing though. Like just look at the bikes themselves. There's such a wide interpretation. To me, a dual sport would be something you take a dirt bike to. Like street legal. Basically a stripped down dual sport bike.
Yeah.
But but then somebody else's interpretation of it to go take a TW200 to it. It's like, well, you could, but I don't recommend it.
Yeah. That's kind of why we've tried to do 2 separate loops just because, the first year of us doing it, that was such a steep learning curve of you had everybody, I'd say 75% of everybody's interpretation is like you say, it's a dirt bike ride.
Yes.
You have minimum street bike or street equipment on to get through the woods on. And that crowd was way more than the guys on the big adventure bikes, the Africa Twins. So that's why we try to cater to both groups. But it's interesting that as long as I've been going around on the dual sport stuff, which isn't that long, honestly, in the few events that I've went to, it's definitely tailoring more towards the hardcore crowd.
A lot of it is. I know the AMA has like their adventure series and stuff. I'm not sure if they're still doing that. I'm guessing they still are. The AMA, they have like their adventure.
They might. I don't know.
Yeah, I know they had the dual sport bike series and stuff like that too. But it's
Racer Productions, the GNCC crowd. They used to do a dual sport series.
That was going to be my next point, Rob. I know you've done some of those old like the Blackwater 200s and stuff.
I did Starvation Point, and they were kind of like the Hancock, dual sport today.
Yeah.
The one year at the Blackwater 200, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and Dave Coombs rode up. He's scouting out stuff for the next year's dual sport, and somebody in the group that I just happened to be parked with knew him, and he said, "You want to follow me? I got another section that he wants to show us. That's off of the dual sport." So we followed him, and there's a creek crossing. I always see it in the videos. It's over there. It's near Canaan Valley. It's real wide.
Yeah.
And I can never find it. But I see these Jeep videos, people going through. I think that's the creek crossing we went through.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you kidding me? We went in there, and I'm hitting these rocks. I had an XR 650L, like the first or second year they were out.
You're like a couple inches too short for
it. And I hit a rock. I start to fall, and I actually saw an eel swim by. And then he took us, I don't know, it was about probably a 15 or 20 mile extra loop of, stuff that he was going to possibly put in the next one. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he ever put on another one after that, though, because all the stuff with the Blackwater 100 and everything.
Victim of its own success. A lot of times people say it's the power company or whatever who had to land, but when you got 20,000 people at one spectator spot, that's insane.
I know. So I have firsthand knowledge of this a little bit because my mom and dad's neighbor, Andy Weeks, was working for the Department of Environmental Protection, which is the one that pretty much got the huge blame for shutting down the Blackwater 100.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, and I've talked to him about this multiple times, the only thing they asked was to try to keep all the beer cans and stuff out of the creek crossings because that was what they were upset about. But in all honesty, like you said, it was a victim of its own success. It was a party that was out of control. There was too many haters on the track, and Dave Coons and Racer Productions just lost handle of it, and it was just too much to put on. And yeah, that's I know a lot of times, power companies, DEP, they get the blame for shutting it down, but it was just a victim.
It wasn't. I can't blame them
when you have National Guard, guardsmen there, and then they had a mobile, like a tractor trailer jail.
Yeah,
in town and stuff. I said, yeah.
What about like the truck running over the tent, and then the other truck rolling over with the kid, with the people in the back? I mean, it was
definitely an experience, though. I always say, if it ever comes back, I'll be the first one signing up again. So.
Yeah. Yep. So I grew up in Elkins. I've heard the stories of the guys that were there as spectators at that point in time, and some of it just sounds horrific. But,
don't make it for beer cans at you.
That area when I was in college and stuff, like Davis Thomas, it's completely unrecognizable from what it was.
You can't picture 600 bikes lined up in the street there now.
No.
It's a complete 180. It's like West Virginia's a little California up there now.
Yes,
little hipster town.
It is. It's all mountain bikes. Don't get me wrong, I go mountain biking there, but it's like all mountain. And the worst part is, like, I went up there this past summer specifically for Rob. I'm like, because I know getting to the Moon Rock's kind of a pain in the ass. So we went up there. I got a picture.
She went. I didn't go.
Yeah, no, he didn't go. I went up there on the bicycle, pushed a lot because I ain't that good of a bicycle. I don't have one of them fancy electric bikes. I got like old 26-inch tire one.
Sure.
And I got pictures of the Moon Rocks just for Rob. And I did find some pieces from. There's a bike stuck out there. It was an old XL.
That's everybody knows about.
And I found a grab rail with a rope tied around it, like buried in the dirt and stuff off the ground, off the back of a quad. I'm like, oh, check this out. It was like kind of cool, But the little pilgrimage for Rob. I keep telling him I'm gonna drag him out there one day.
The first time I went back was in 2014. From the last time I was there was 90. 94 was the last year they did the dual sport.
Was that the time we snuck out there?
And then it was weird riding in there in the dual sports. I got goosebumps as I was riding down 93. The old 93 bridge was still there.
Yep.
And they're putting the new, what's that, Corridor H or something next to it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember stopping there, and I'm looking at the river crossing. The guys would say, "Go for it." I guess they knew, what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And then we snuck out on. I snuck out on the course a little bit here and there, and I know you're not supposed to, but I saw quad tracks going back. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, this
I was trying to go ahead.
Of my experience, but if you can be somewhat stealthy up in there, you can. Or if you could be stealthy up in that area, you could hit a decent bit of trail without anybody knowing about it. So
it's still, even losing a lot of the stuff that they lost in there, I still love going down into Davis.
Oh, I do too.
Loop.
We've got a heck of a loop that we do that leaves here from Fairmont and goes all the way down there. I think we hit maybe Trevor, 8 miles of hardtop the entire.
If that, I mean, it's a really good.
We might have to join you in that one next time.
Yeah.
We always love to do Canaan Loop, Canyon Rim Trail, Forest Road 18, which I think you guys have taken your Jeep across.
They fixed it though. So
I was like, what the heck?
I used to have a massive washout in it. I got a Jeep Cherokee that's built for like woods and mud and stuff like that. We had it up there, and you could just barely get around it at that point in time. But those Canyon Rim and Canaan Loop are wild. In a Jeep, it takes like an hour to get across it, and a bike.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're through
done.
20 minutes.
That's why I always like motorcycle. Like it's funny. Like if it's a crappy day or a questionable day, or I'm too butthurt, from the previous day's riding, go out, take the Jeep out. But honestly, there's nothing you can't cover the kind of ground you can cover on anything but a motorcycle. Like you can cover so much ground so quickly. Like any four-wheel vehicle, I don't care how well set up it is, you still have to sit there and kind of rock through certain things and kind of bounce over, unless you don't care about your rig,
Yeah. Yeah, you can't hold on the handlebars and stand up in the seat of the Jeep and go through stuff fast.
Yeah,
no, maybe a monster truck, but not a Jeep. No.
Guys, couple last little points before we let you go. Let's talk a little bit about the move down to West Virginia here. What kind of did the state offer for you guys that made you want to come down, other than obviously all the legality stuff for riding up in New Jersey? I mean, was that one of the main contributing things?
So New Jersey, especially since COVID. Now, really, I'll tell you what. You go back, me and Rob, we'd be out there all winter working on his club section, prior property.
Clubs Enduro.
And we wouldn't see another person out there the entire day. This is dead of winter because this race would always be one of the first ones in the spring. And, in the past 10 or so years, that really changed. And no thanks to the internet. And mind you, we're on prior property. You get on the dirt road zone, you see, more and more vehicle traffic out there. And then the problem is in New Jersey, because the enduro and dual sport crowd is the only crowd that has to outside the Jeep. There is the Jeep Jamboree held in the Pine Barrens too, but they have to get what they call a special use permit, right? And which means you have to go through the state and all that extra BS and everything. But that special use permit that they have to get, the state basically they can't fight the illegal use. So they constantly go after the legal user groups who rely on the state to give them that permit to be able to use, these dirt roads and stuff like that on state land. So,
in more recent years, there's been an influx,
mass influx
of people always going into the woods. I mean,
just side by sides, like 15, 20 deep. I wouldn't care if it wasn't for the fact that they always blame.
Yeah.
They always blame the legal users. They blame the Jeep club that gets the permits by trying to deny them permits, and they blame the enduro clubs by trying to deny us permits. And I mean, I could go on for hours about this, and I'm not going to. But that was a big portion of that was and it's funny because I know my coworkers asked me like, why'd you move down to West Virginia? And I'm like, honestly, this is the only place I would have moved outside of where we lived in South Jersey. I actually liked, for the most part, where we lived in South Jersey. But COVID accelerated us wanting to get out of the state. On top of, unfortunately, some of our older family finally, unfortunately passed away. So
that was pretty much. We had two older family members, her grandfather, and then my mother. We were staying. I didn't want to go anywhere
while they're still
around. Then my mother passed away, and coming home from the funeral, I said, "Why don't we just go, move?" And I quit my job, and Lisa quit hers, and then we just started moving.
Moving's very expensive.
Yeah, we did it ourselves with a little ZR2 Blazer and a 6x12 enclosed trailer. We do a day trip, turn around and go back. And a couple of days later, come back again and do it. Yeah. And just till we got it done.
It's very hard moving how many motorcycles? We think they heard some, but we used to have about 20 bikes or so. So
now we're down to 19 now.
Yeah, something like that. We're getting help for our problems here,
Progress.
Yeah, it's very small, but the thing is, I actually have a whole end goal. Whether it'll ever come to fruition or not, we'll see. But I have an end goal of we're within range here of the East Coast Enduro Association. And we're within range of ACES, the Appalachian Championship Enduro Series, and out of Ohio area. And I would like to be able to eventually talk to enough landowners, use it as a fundraiser for the local fire department, volunteer fire department stuff, just like we did back in Jersey with our enduros and stuff, and be able to host enduro out here. That's kind of my bucket list.
I don't think West Virginia's ever had an enduro.
Yep.
I've never been to one here. I would have heard of them,
West Virginia's getting a hard enduro this year.
Is it?
Oh. Whoa.
We're putting it on.
Oh, really? What?
Oh.
What?
Clear your calendar for the first weekend in November. That's all I'm going to say.
What?
Perfect weather there.
Oh.
I'm putting my YZ250 together.
I got to finish the 300 now. I got to finish my 300.
She's building this super 300 that's just specifically for that.
Specifically for hard dirt, I'm doing stuff where I'm because I have one that can do a little bit of everything. I'm I know exactly what I need. So, boy.
Yeah, we're you'll start seeing some advertisement stuff for it here within the next month or two.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. I like that kind of stuff. That's good. Yeah, nothing like a suffer fest. A good, sweaty, crappy suffer fest. And November is a great time because the bikes won't be dying. I don't care if I'm dying. I don't want my bike dying. I gotta fix that.
Well, pitting for her at Tough Like Roar July 4th weekend in that It was nasty, nasty.
It's like
just
100-degree index.
Constantly changing T-shirts because I'm just sitting soaking wet. And
try being on the bike that's overheating.
November sounds really nice, actually, especially out here.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Should be interesting. We're going to try to make it so tough that if you make one lap, you're going to win your class. That's just how it's going to be.
Where is it going to be at? Like
I can't say yet. Just central part of the state.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. So,
it's about the only facility in the state of West Virginia that's going to be able to host it and have all the amenities we need and the terrain we need. So
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like down here is like an untapped resource. You guys don't have the BS and the crap and the NIMBYs. Not in my backyard, people. Like Jersey, because let's be realistic. You know, like even though South Jersey has like this hardcore enduro community. It's a never-ending, like I said, you got to basically be a lobbyist, never-ending battle fighting. You know, where down here, I mean, you have a lot of private property. You don't have the state land necessarily that you're allowed on, but the point is you don't have to go through all the rigmarole just to be able to post an event. So if you get somebody that's willing to let you on their land, I mean, you pretty much can have an event. That's just blows my mind. I mean, to me, it's an untapped resource. Like, I'm like, why is nobody else doing this?
And we're fortunate enough now that in our county, we have a delegate that's pretty interested in, being involved.
Yeah. We got to go down to Charleston there as for the West Virginia Adventure Travel Day and got to meet our delegate. What's his name? Mike. I'm drawing a blank.
That's okay. It happened.
Mike Vito. He comes up to us and he's looking at our stuff, looking at the flyer for our dual sport ride and talking to us a little bit. And he's like, he starts to turn away and then he comes back. He's like, does that say Fairmont? I said, yeah, that's where we're based out of. That was Fairmont Dual Sport Riders. He goes, well, I'm your delegate. I'm like, well,
perfect.
Nice to meet you, And then he starts there and starts talking our ear off. And he's like, I had no idea that this was a thing in my county. Like, what can I do to help you guys? Like, what resources do you need to make this something bigger, And
it's tourism. Like, it really, in the bottom. So like in the Pine Barrens region of New Jersey and like the bottom parts, like I said, like I grew up in the poorest, county in New Jersey and stuff down there. And like this brought people into our area and stuff. It was a big fundraiser for the fire departments, for the hunting clubs and stuff down there. Everybody got a piece of the kitty. Local schools everybody got a piece of it. If the clubs made money, once they paid off, for the porta pots and everything else, stuff like that, like everybody else got a piece of it. So, I mean, it was like, and it was great because it was a win-win-win across the board. Everybody, the community was happy with it for the most part, and we were always, we were able to have events and stuff, and we like putting the trail in, that's, it's, like, I mean, Half Hill McCoy is awesome, but like this, even like where you guys are at, it's closer to a lot of the stuff in the Northeast, Half Hill McCoy is awesome, but it's a bit of a drive, like where we're at is like, 4.5, 5 hours back from like, like Philly and all that stuff. It's 2.5 hours or so from, DC. So like, it's, and the thing is like, the nice part is the folks go back and they usually aren't going to come back and ride the stuff they're not supposed to be riding. If you're on somebody's private property. So that's nice. They're going to come out, they're going to ride the event and then they go home, leave a few bucks behind while they're at it.
Yeah. Like we explained to him too. I said, we got guys coming from Jersey. I mentioned you guys moving down to West Virginia from being up there, our old buddy, Dusty Pines, who rode his KTM 1090 all the way down.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
I looked at the registration thing for the ride there earlier. We've got a family of 5 coming all the way from Florida.
That's awesome.
People want to come and ride this thing. You got tourism out the butt. People spending money in the county. So yeah, whatever help we can get is awesome.
And that's a big thing for like, West Virginia, I don't want to get into the politics of like the energy stuff and all that kind of crap, but you know what? The one thing we can't bank on that's good down here is is providing opportunities for people to come into the state and enjoy themselves on vacations and stuff, and trips like that. And then they go home, but they leave a little bit behind. So I mean, it's to me it's a win-win. It always helped us down in South Jersey. A lot, like I said, a lot of the volunteer fire departments are always hurting for money. So. Yeah. So I mean, it's an awesome thing, and like I said, this state's prime for it. It's prime for it.
Yep. Like Nick Hall comments on it, it's Mike Duvall. I got that wrong. I'm sorry. Apologize about that. Trevor, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I got one quick closing question. Worst bike breakdown and worst injury that you guys sustained during your race careers?
Ooh, what?
Worst bike breakdown.
Well,
My one and only KTM. That's
sorry, guys.
90 brand new 95 KTM 250 EXC. I was racing enduro. It wasn't even that bad of a breakdown, but it was just weird.
Is it the one with the flats?
No, that's another part of that.
Okay, never mind.
Piece of crap. But I came out of a section late, so I was on it on a dirt road. Came over a rise, and there's a giant puddle in front of me. I locked the brakes up, slid into a sideways, and just cartwheeled sideways through it. Flooded the bike out, flipped it over, got the water out of it, started it up.
Am I familiar, James?
I got it to the gas stop, shut it off. We filled it up. I went to kick it, no compression. And I said, that's it. I'm done with this bike. And then I went and bought as soon as a 96 CR250 came out, I bought one. Because I came off of a 92 CR250 and that I started the season off on. It was doing well. And then I bought the KTM and it was just breakdown after breakdown. The rims were actually corroding on the inside, flaking. And then I kept getting flat tires constantly.
Oh, geez.
Then I sold it to somewhat of a friend of a friend. And we'd be riding a dual sport and he'd be getting flat tires all the time. And we just kind of look at each other and dry it off, leave them out there.
I wonder why you got a flat.
The worst injury,
probably separated shoulder.
I mean,
I'm very superstitious. I don't want to jinx ourselves. So
I separated a shoulder.
I understand that.
I have no knees now.
You got no knees.
They're bone on bone, so that's kind of a overtime type.
Yeah, that's a normal. You've ridden for more than 20 years type of thing. You haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a nice grade 2 AC joint separation 2020, and that took some time. Luckily, got back to probably 90% without surgery, so I'm pretty confident.
That's key. Yeah, usually if you can avoid surgery. So like, my worst injury, to this point, my only Kraken wagon ride was when I didn't realize I've broken my feet so many times over the years because, a lot of times you'll smash your foot on a stump or a rock. Your foot will go numb or dead for about 5-10 minutes. And then you can start wiggling things. You're like, oh, it ain't broken. It moves, sort of. Yeah. And the feeling comes back after a while. And then later on, you take your boot off and your foot was like, some sort of ugly color or whatever. And you're like, and it hurts to walk on for a couple of weeks. But I didn't realize. So when I really knew I broke my foot, and they were asking me, so I smeared it on a stump in a hard edge of a rut, and I come through the corner. And one of the things I learned over the years, because in South Jersey we have a lot of stick farms, and I learned to ride without taking my feet off the pegs. Now my ass is on the seat most of the time, pardon my French. Not using it standing up, but I don't take my feet off the pegs. If feet off the pegs or anywhere in harm's way means you're going to smear them. But unfortunately, this hard ass stuff was on the inside of a rut, and the bike didn't. Like a lot of times, you clip things with your foot or a foot peg, the bike will hop to the side. Well, the bike never hopped. It just literally smeared. It totally drove my foot, smeared it. It felt like someone lit a stick of dynamite off of my boot. I was like, I basically went up to the next tree and just kind of like leaned over into it. And I'm like, okay. I didn't realize I did a lot of nerve damage. My foot was literally dead for like a month. It like just drooped. And I mean, I went to I got the ambulance ride and went to the foot. They thought I was a mountain bike race. It was a mountain bike race with riding boots. I learned a long time ago, you don't take your boot off, And
you always tell them it's a mountain bike ride.
Mountain bike race. Even with riding boots, mountain bike ride. Anyway, it's a motor vehicle. And so they took the boot off. So when they x-rayed my foot, they're like, did you break your foot before? I'm like, not that I know of. And that's when I learned I have all these extra old fractures all in my foot. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. All right. So all them times I smashed my foot before, I broke bones, but I didn't nerve damage. Damage. Ooh,
that was the worst part of my shoulder injury. Was once I got it out of the sling, the muscle atrophied like crazy in the span of 4 weeks.
Oh yeah,
it was like I had no communication between my brain and my delt, like my front delt or rear delt muscle, and that was probably the worst part. Was trying to establish that pathway or what.
You have to, like it took about a year to get that foot back to mostly normal. But long story short, I can't wear high heels no more. Like my high heel days are way over. So I'm pretty much
about a KTM, so you really don't have to worry about high heels, right?
Nah, I ride KXs and I get them lowered an inch, which helps immensely. But no, I can't. Yeah, that tippy toe stuff, not really.
Yeah.
But you can only break your feet so many times on stumps doing that. And worst breakdown was probably my 2000 CR250. It was the last Honda I owned, where it disintegrated. There was a plastic Y pipe between the two radiators, and it disintegrated.
James?
Huh?
Yeah. GPX.
That sound familiar?
Oh.
Yep.
It disintegrated that plastic T-fitting and blew all the coolant out. And by the time I knew there was something wrong, because, the steam's blowing behind me, not in front of me.
Yep.
The bike's pinging. And I'm like, oh, crap. And then that's when I realized I had a problem, pulled in, and the bike just didn't start. I mean, it wasn't a bad breakdown. Like, that's one thing I think we've always been pretty good on for the most part. Knock on wood, because you never know. If a modern Porsche takes a crap, you're pretty much lunching. You got a heavy paperweight in your hand. You're trashing the motor,
catastrophic breakdown.
Yeah. Cross my fingers. Yeah, I'm not trying to do that.
That's
but
awesome.
no, that's the worst. That's the worst one. And the best part was I called Manchester Honda about it. That's where I used to get my Honda parts from way back in 2001 when that happened. And I asked them, have you ever seen this before? They're like, oh, no. I'm like, how the hell am I the only person in the whole world to disintegrate a plastic T-fitting? Like, I just can't picture that. But,
It's like it rusted from the inside, but it's plastic. It's so corroded.
Yeah. I guess the popular second mention would probably be crank seals.
Yeah, we had a
ethanol pump gas is bad shit on two-strokes.
Yep.
Especially Japanese two-strokes.
Especially KXs where you got to split the cases to change those crank seals.
You can only split them so many times before you lose that tolerance fit on those main bearings.
Yep.
Done.
Awesome.
I still love them.
Well, I think that about wraps up everything that I had. You got anything else, Trevor?
Nope. I think you're pretty
okay.
Guys, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening and your busy schedules to sit here and BS with us there for a little while and kind of get an insight into your guys' lives. We really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Rock the PPR. Well, as always, we'll see you guys next Tuesday, and thanks for tuning in and watching. Have a good night, y'all.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one.
See ya.